Hi, everyone, and welcome to the 2021 USA TKD US Open. Tonight is session 2, episode 3. Who do we have on tap, Miyako?
Well, we're continuing the preliminary action, and now we're starting to get a look at that second flight. So we're going to continue with the cadets. We'll get the second flight of the males, and then we'll finish out with the females.
Okay, so it's a very action-packed session from what I understand. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. We have 38 cadet males, and then we're going to follow it up with 34 cadet females. Then we'll be done with all the cadets. You'll know who's moving on to the semifinals. So it's going to be super action-packed. Make sure you have lots of snacks and drinks because we're going to be here until we know all the semifinalists.
Yeah, get comfortable. Let's go.
Okay, here's our first division again. 2 divisions tonight. Both of them are flight 2. We're doing cadets, and we're starting off with the males.
Up first, we have Samuel Bay from Alabama. He trains at JYT USA under his coach, Sengak Jang.
Samuel's looking really comfortable with Paul Jong. We got to see the juniors last night, and I feel like they had a good understanding of their power. They're really starting to work through that here. The cadets are going to be 12 to 14 years old, so a little bit younger, still developing that power, figuring it out, but he is really clean and does a good job here.
So Samuel Bay starts us off with a 7.23, a nice strong score for this cadet division.
시작!
Wow. Nice reach on the side kicks, but a little bit of kind of a swing at top, so just making sure that it stays nice and clean while he's going for that height. Nice job framing here. He's nice and big. A couple heel pops moving backwards. Want to make sure that they stay low.
쇼! 경례!
So Samuel Bay got a 7.23 for the first Poomsae, and now for the second, a 7.17. And here's his total, 7.2. Up next, we have Andrew Fong from California. He trains at Elite Taekwondo Center under Kwang Hill Bay.
Andrew competed in the Grand Slam, and I think he's maybe turning 14 this year. So on the top end of the age group, and he does look quite tall, especially compared to Samuel, who went first. He was a little bit on the shorter side for the division. But 12, 13, 14, they're going to be growing like crazy. So I think we will see quite a range of body types in this division, especially.
So Andrew Hong racks up a 6.77 for his first Poomsae.
And
시작.
the two forms that they're doing here, the same as the first flight, of course. So we have Paul Jung followed by choreo. That is sequential order in the way that you learn them.
I think most of the athletes will feel really comfortable with these two. Probably all of them have been, working with choreo for quite a bit of time, and then Paul Jung even longer. Most of them in our last episode look pretty comfortable.
A common theme that we've seen throughout these first few episodes of this session is that a lot of the stances on athletes are just looking a little bit short and high. So I think that's the case for Andrew here as well. He could definitely afford to make these stances longer, deeper. He had a little bit of a bobble on that first double side kick, or second, one of those double side kicks as well.
준비. 시작.
Some more heel pops here. But overall, very strong for Peyton Young. And Peyton Young gets a score of 6.7 on his first form.
시작.
Nice straight line coming forward on these front kicks. Oh, big step across there. There as well. It's a very different approach.
Is Peyton new to this division, Miyako?
Let me see.
바로.
Nice strong finish for Peyton Young in choreo. So he got a 6.7
시작.
for his first Poomsae Paul Jung.
경례.
I think he's actually on the younger side for this division.
And now for choreo, 6.96. I don't remember seeing him in the competition that we've had earlier, the Grand Slam or the Summer of Poomsae. He gets a total 6.830.
시작.
This is Ethan Kim. Ethan is from Illinois. He trains at Summit Martial Arts under his coach, Master David Kim.
Doing a pretty good job boosting up on those front kicks. really surprised these cadets aren't taking a super fast tempo. Sometimes we think the younger athletes will go really fast, but they're taking a measured approach, taking their time and letting their hand techniques develop, which is great.
Yeah, you're right. Sometimes they're out of the gates pretty fast, but these athletes are pretty careful as they're moving through the Poomsae. And that may be because they're recording it, right? So they're not in front of a group of people. They're doing it at their leisure in some respects. So they can make sure that they're taking their time and working their way through maybe multiple videos. Maybe it did start off pretty fast and now they're settling in.
I did find that when I would record my videos, it was usually like the third take where I sort of settled in. The first two, I was too tense or going too fast. But after a while, you really do kind of relax into it.
Right. You just need to realize that you need to give yourself time and it's nothing to rush about. Now, Ethan got a 7.27 for that first Poomsae. That's a really big score so far. Let's see if you can do the same with choreo. So Samuel Bay got a 7.23 and Ethan a 7.27. So it's very close there. And Samuel Bay got a 7.17 for choreo. Let's see how Ethan Kim does. Another great score, 7.27. So that'll put him into first place for now. Up next, we have Ryan Yoon from California. Ryan trains with Team Kim Bolan.
시작!
Ryan's a little bit short on some of these stances and a slight lean in his torso there as well. That's a really hard technique. We see a lot of athletes struggling with that, trying to get the hips to rotate, but keep the torso nice and tall. Here, a little bit of bounce as he's transitioning as well.
바로!
A little bit of settle in the last couple of moves, but really trying to push the power there in those hand techniques.
So Ryan coming out with a 6.74 for his first Poomsae.
시작!
The camera angle might be a little bit low because his hand techniques are a little bit high. When he was coming forward in that front kick bar, the neck chops were looking like they were around his philtrum, his nose, instead of at the neck. So maybe we don't need to be looking up quite as high. The camera could be just a little bit higher here.
A little bit more time to lock those in. He'll feel a lot more comfortable if he does that. Those front stances, the rear leg really needs to be straight, and then it gives you a lot of strength to move to the next step as well. So that's Ryan Yoon. He got a 6.74 for the first Poomsae. And now for the second, little boost there. That should feel good. 6.86. So he'll finish this round at 6.8. Up next we have Jacob Kuhn. Jacob's from Virginia. He trains with Kim Min Kyung Taekwondo Academy.
of these hand techniques a little bit off on the accuracy. The stance is a little bit wide as well. But trying to go for some long stances, so that's really nice. We just have to make sure we're cleaning up to get this score higher on the accuracy side.
Oh, Jacob gets a 5.8 for his first form. There's quite a range already in the scores, which shows us some of our athletes are probably very well experienced, having gone to a lot of tournaments, and others just beginning. So this is great that we are bringing in a whole new group of athletes. With every event, they'll get a little stronger.
And Jacob's competed in a few tournaments. He is, it seems, from Dallas, but he's competed in Maryland and Houston at East Coast Championships. And he's done quite well in some of those tournaments. So I think we just have to make sure now when we're competing at the national level to just continue to train and keep working on softening up some of these draws and the hand techniques. But great to see Jacob here today.
Right, with over 30 competitors in this division, there's plenty for all the athletes to study. I like that background that says challenge your limits on that banner there. So that looks like that's what Jacob's doing. So good job to Jacob. He gets a 5.57 for the second Poomsae. Now 5.685 for the combined score. And here are standings so far. We have Ethan Kim in first, just a bit above Samuel Bay, followed by Peyton Young, Ryan Yoon, Andrew Fong. And up next, we have Apollo Tan. Apollo is from Texas. He trains with Texas White Tiger Taekwondo.
We have 38 athletes in this flight, I think we mentioned. So we're taking the top 19 into the semifinals. And just like all the other divisions, if we have an international competitor, we do not use the ranking points to do the order. So we're going to see the scores kind of be all over as it is randomized. We have an Australian competitor coming up around the 23rd athlete. So make sure you're watching the whole division. Keep an eye out for when you're going or your son or daughter is going. It is totally randomized here, not by points.
And Apollo starts off with a 6.73. What a great opportunity for these young athletes to compete with people on an international level. So we have an athlete here from, where did you say, Miyako?
Apollo is from Texas.
No, I mean our international athlete.
Oh, from Australia.
From Australia, right. So we have had a nice group of Australians join us for the competition. We also have some athletes from South Korea, from India, Nicaragua, and Denmark, right?
Yeah, that's right. For this session, we have athletes from 6 countries, those 5 that you mentioned, and over 350 athletes. So this is quite big. It's just for the juniors and cadets. So 12 to 17 years old. We had another over 200 athletes for the masters and seniors. And then we'll have even more athletes in the 3rd session, which will be in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, that's great that we have so many, especially with so much on the line with all the ranking points that folks are trying to get in their possession. So this is considered a major event. How many points available, Miyako, as Apollo Tan finishes up nice, strong choreo?
So this is a 12.0 event, which means there are 120 points available to the first place winner. Apollo gets a 6.83 on his second form.
And a combined 6.78.
And so sorry, go ahead.
Up next, we have Jonas Garman. Jonas is from North Carolina and trains with Pure Taekwondo Center under his coach, Bernard Posey. We've seen athletes from this dojang also in the Grand Slam and the Summer of Poomsae, many of them getting their feet wet for the first time here in an international competition.
Oh, and he's really boosting these front kicks up here, nice and tall. Watch the head not coming forward though. It is sort of leaning on much of his technique. So we just want to make sure that head stays nice and tall.
Yeah, it's a tricky thing. Everything has to
Bro.
stay calm and quiet, and just a kick coming up so we can appreciate just that and not be distracted by anything else. So Jonas gets a 6.27 on take a pole jump.
And the referees are
Yeah.
different division to division. So go ahead and check out the beginning of the episode to see who the referees are.
Look at that
But
big
wow,
reach.
what flexibility.
The kicking technique is looking really strong. So where he wants to focus now, especially to boost his score, he got a 6.27 the first time. So if he's looking to boost that score, that would come through quieting the body, making sure that you're able to use power, but that the majority of your body stays nice and calm as you throw out the hand technique.
Yeah, his shoulders are coming up here. He's
Bro.
trying to generate that power. So Jonas, go ahead and relax a little bit. Just let the power
Yeah.
develop at the end
Yeah.
of the technique. We have lots and lots of athletes, not just in this division, but some of the older divisions who will be great examples for you.
And he's at 5.96. You know, telling people to relax is a tricky kind of thing, right? It's kind of need to add more power. It's like how much power and how much calm. It's all a big experiment and learning how to, get in touch with your body to make sure you look as strong as possible. So Jonas got that 5.96 to follow the 6.27. And he's going to finish up with a 6.115. This is Chase Thornton. And Chase is from Virginia. He also trains at Kim In Kuhn Taekwondo Academy. Just like his teammate, Jacob Yoon. He was up just a couple of moments ago.
Right, I think this school is maybe new for us this tournament. I don't remember it from past tournaments, but we're getting a ton of athletes from them, which is really great.
Right, I see more coming up in the division. That's really fun, especially if they were able to train together and root each other on. So Chase gets a 6.16 for his first form.
A bit of a spread there on the accuracy. So if you're just joining us and you don't know too much about Poomsae, the score is divided into accuracy and presentation. Accuracy is 40%, presentation 60%. Accuracy is done live as the judges are watching, and they take off little minor deductions, 0.1 for small things and 0.3 for big things. And then once you see the total score there, you'll see 5 judges. We drop the high score and the low score and then average the middle 3. So it isn't demarcated there, but if you're trying to calculate the average and you're saying, hey, it's a little off from what you see, make sure you drop that high and low. So even though there was a range in his accuracy here for Chase on his first form, we'll see what it looks like on choreo. But you're dropping that high and low and you're getting a more kind of consistent score in the middle there.
All right, so Chase did a good job on that form. He did get a bigger deduction on those, on one of those techniques, and that was the one where he looked in the wrong direction. So you do have to make sure that you check in with your coach and you know where to look in each one of those steps. It's a 5.96 for that second form. He finishes with a 6.06. We have little deductions. Why don't you give an example of a little deduction, a 0.1, Miyako. This is Caden Hoe, by the way. Caden is from Colorado and trains with Duangale, USA.
So a minor deduction would be something like a double pivot on one of your stances. So as you're transitioning, your foot moves twice, or maybe your punch should be centered and it's not quite in line with the center of your body, it's out to the side. That would be a 0.1. Whereas here, let's say if this uppercut stopped at his shoulder rather than coming all the way up to the chin level, which is a different area of the body, that would be a major deduction, which would be 0.3.
So while Miyako mentioned a few, there are quite a bit more deductions than that, but it just has to do with the level of the infraction, right? So some things are tiny little things and some things are bigger. So a 0.1 for something small and a 0.3 for something a little bit bigger. So Caden Hoe gets a 6.86 for his first Poomsae. So while the referee is watching, they can deduct as they go. If they see something incorrect, they might tap their little button there to give the athlete a 0.1. And of course, we have a team of referees, not just one referee watching the competitor. How many referees do we have in this event, Miyako?
Well, we have a bunch of referees. Each division is slightly different, but for each division, you'll have 5 referees judging at one time. And then, like I mentioned earlier, you drop that high and the low score to average the middle 3. Caden is doing a good job here. I think you mentioned from Colorado, but he trains with the Doan Gillett team out in California, which is what it looks like he's here in California to record. I recognize the space.
Right, so this does look like it's their home base. They have quite a few athletes in this competition and all training right here at this same spot. So that's good for them. They can all build off of each other's momentum. So Caden gets a 7.0 for a second form. So it's 2 good scores, a 6.86 and a 7.0, finishing up with a 6.93. This is Brendan Kim. Brendan is from California and he trains at Sky Martial Arts with his coach, Andrew Yoon. I love this space. You know, we don't get enough of these, right, Miyako?
Yeah. Yeah, we love getting to see the living rooms, the garages, outside. He needs some more mats, though. He's already gone off the mat space here into the floor.
That's what makes it fun, and that's what makes him a warrior. It doesn't even matter. It doesn't faze him at all. He can do it on concrete, on a mat, on a mountaintop. Doesn't matter. But really good focus as he's moving through these steps of pole down. Maybe stand up a little bit more upright on the kicks.
Gotta watch some of those stances a little bit wide on the front stance, crossed over on the back stance. So I think here's a good athlete, like you mentioned, start from the ground up. Really start cleaning up those stances, the feet, make everything nice and strong, and then move your way up to the hand technique.
And he is a 5.37, but Miyako, that's a lot of work, right?
That is, but we're here to work hard, Coach Brand.
Yep, every day, all day. So Brendan got a 5.37. That's a good start. We have quite a range of scores in the 5s and the 6s and a couple in the 7s so far.
That's right. And unfortunately, Brendan up at the top on Paul John, he did a front kick and I think his foot might have gone out of screen because he had a deduction, a 0.3 deduction. So we'll see here.
Right,
he might get some more deductions here.
And that's unfortunate because it looks like he's using his space as well as he can. He's just a little short. So the next time, if we have another virtual event with USAT, maybe open up the garage door, right? And record from that angle, especially since he's in California and the weather's been pretty good. It's probably going to get better and better. So maybe just a different angle.
Right, or maybe a yard, a park. Grass is hard to work on, but a nice open space might be better. He's going to get a deduction there again. He had to readjust his stances because he ran into those cabinets. But I think he has a lot of good things going for him. Once he doesn't get those deductions, that score will be way higher.
And he's 4.24, but a wonderful story for his grandkids. Like he can tell how he continued to train through COVID, how he was training outside in his garage and did this recording. That's a super great story. This is Kimmy Soriano. And Kimmy is from Illinois and he trains the Flying V martial arts.
And I think Kimmy must be from the Philippines, because in some of his recent Taekwondo accomplishments, he's competed in China, in the Philippines, a lot of Philippine tournaments where he's medaled bronze for, I believe, individual. So he must be either new to the US or have family in the Philippines where he's been able to compete in all those tournaments in 2018, 2019.
Ah, okay, I was wondering. I didn't know if that was recent. So it's good to hear he's staying safe and building off of his past experience in 2018, 2019, staying safe at Flying V Martial Arts, competing there. Little narrow on that stance. Wow, he held that together though.
바로
And we've had some really strong athletes out of this school, so he has a lot of good teammates to be able to train with.
All right, so Kimmy gets a 6.26.
시작.
Nice reach on those side kicks. So a lot of the athletes have a good reach on these side kicks, right? Really good flexibility. So next step is controlling it, making sure there's a really good chamber, a clear extension, a clear retraction, and a nice calm recovery.
Yeah, there's again good reach on the side kicks, but I'm seeing a lot of pre-stepping motions where either his toes move or the heel is moving before he goes into the stance. So then there's that double motion, the double pivot or the pre-step. Each one of those could be a minor deduction of 0.1. There was, again, we saw the pre-step before the step, pre-step, then the step. So I think if he could get rid of those, he'd gain like a whole point back on his accuracy. We'll see how many the judges actually took, but that would immediately boost his score.
Agreed. So Kimmy gets a 6.1, a little drop on that one. Got a couple of dings there. Look at that, accuracy of 2.33. So some room to grow there, and finishes with a 6.18. So here are standings so far in this exciting male cadet prelim flight. Ethan Kim in first, Samuel Bay, Caden Hoe, Peyton Yoon following close to Ethan there. And then we have Ryan Yoon, Apollo Tan, Andrew Fong, and Kimmy Soriano in those top 8 spots. But we're not just looking for the top 8 to go through to the semifinal. We're looking for the top 19, right, Miyako?
Yeah, that's right. This is a big division. Sorry, it's a flight. This is actually just half of the division since we saw the first flight in episode 1. So 38 tonight, top 19 go into the semifinals. And some of the other divisions, that cutoff has been around a 7, even with different referees. But here we only have 2 scores in the 7 so far. Again,
right.
Lots of athletes still to come, but we're seeing a big range of scores, which means we just have some great new athletes with us here who maybe we haven't seen before. And I'm just so happy that we had so many try out and compete in this tournament. Right,
and one of them is Daniel Cho here on the screen. Daniel's from Virginia. And again, on that team, there's club being Kim In Kyung Taekwondo Academy.
바로
And he's pretty clean here. That upper body, not too much extra motion.
And he gets a 6.26, and that's the same score that Kimmy Soriano got. And I believe Kimmy was in the top 8 there. So that's a pretty good score in this preliminary flight.
시작.
Pre-step again on that transition. Just want to move the foot once for each stance. Pre-step there. Pre-step there. So each time he does that, he's going to lose a 10th deduction, but actually he's very clean. I think his score would go way up if we just took out those pre-steps.
Right, we could probably write a book on how to boost up your accuracy scores just by, these little tiny things that keep repeating in the Poomsae. There's Daniel Cho. He got a 6.26 and looking good here
Chang'e.
on choreo. So I'm expecting a pretty strong score here. And yeah, nice boost, 6.57. Really upped his game. And that's hard to do on choreo.
Mhm.
So he'll finish with a 6.415. Up next, we have Mikhail
Hey.
Cho. Mikhail's from California, and he trains at Eagle Taekwondo in Southern
Hey.
California with his coach, Young Fong Jin. Nice high reach. Mikhail has a lot of experience in competitive Poomsae, so pretty clear here that he knows right where he wants to be on each of these steps.
That's right. I think he has been in this cadet division before last year. He competed in the Grand Slam, had some really great events, but just, Grand Slam to here, now US Open, he looks about a whole foot taller. He looks way bigger.
Right, he does. I think we're going to see that over and over again in these preliminary flights. It's amazing how quickly they're growing.
바로
It was a really nice performance. Nice, strong, clean, good power at the end of the technique. So it's smooth until the end.
Wow, nice strong score, 7.24 now. Let's see, we had an athlete, Ethan Kim, he got a 7.27. And we had Samuel Bay, and he had a 7.23. So now Mikhail Cho right in the middle of those two.
Mikhail competed in the 2020 US Open, and he got third place in this division as an individual. So that was, of course, in person. It was in Florida. It was at Disney. Really exciting. But now here, at least we're still able to have this tournament. It's our third USA Taekwondo online event, and it is a major worth 120 points to the first place winner.
Right, I really enjoyed how much he was trying to boost up on those side kicks.
바로
So he didn't lose his balance anywhere in those. And he was really trying to push up as much as he could. So on those, he just needs to make sure he's retracting, he's landing very solidly so he can move on to the next step with ease. So he gets a
Ooh.
huge 7.7 and now into first place with
That
Mikhail
is a
Cho.
huge jump. Holy cow.
Right, so our highest score prior to that was at 7.27 and now he's at a 7.47 combined score.
준비.
So up next we have Sean Thiel. I think I remember Sean
시작!
from either the Summer of Poomsae or the Grand Slam. He's from New York and he trains at East Taekwondo under his coach Chen Chao Liu.
That's right. He did compete in the Grand Slam. He's also been to nationals before. I think in 2019 he was a blue belt, so somewhat recent black belt here, I guess, in the last couple of years. That means you do have to learn a bunch of new forms, but here getting to open up with Paljung, looking pretty comfortable and nice high front kicks.
Yeah, he has really nice high front kicks. The next step for him is just make sure his posture is nice and clean by straightening out that support leg.
바로.
So that's Sean Thiel from New York and getting a 7.0, which in this division is a very high score.
You know, he competed in the
시작!
Grand Slam, but he might have competed as a red belt.
Oh, wow.
I think he's like a brand new black belt here.
Is that right? Well, look at that reach on those side kicks.
Yeah, he's looking really great, really strong here in this flight.
You know, a
Little
lot
bit-
of athletes, they really emphasize their side kick, right? They train and train and train, work on their side kicks. We also have to work on the other 90% of the Poomsae. Really cleaning up those stances and hand techniques.
Yeah, coming forward, the front kick bar a little bit wide on those front stances. So making sure those are the right width. He's looking pretty good.
Yeah, he has good moments with that horse stance. Here and there, the horse stance looks real strong. Other times, it's a little bit shorter, a little harder for him to balance. But good performance from Sean Teo. So he got a 7.0. Real nice safe score so far for this division.
클리.
And he gets a 7.2 for a second form. But he probably just let out a big sigh of relief at home because he's in a good spot with a 7.1.
준비.
Up next, we have Alfredo Lopez Salas. He trains in Texas at Team Forge Taekwondo under his coach, Adrian Munoz. So he is the 16th athlete, right? So we are a good chunk of the way into the competition in this flight.
That's right. We're almost about halfway through this flight. At that point, we'll kind of have an idea of a good range of the scores. But like you mentioned, we only have a handful, about 4 scores in the 7s so far. So that cutoff right now, at least halfway through, is going to be in the 6s. But Alfredo is coming out here nice and strong. He competed in the NCTA event as well as the Grand Slam, where he made it into the top 8. So making it into the finals, really for any of these young divisions with so many athletes, is just really great.
And he gets a nice strong 7.13.
시작.
Nice reach on the side kick. So yeah, a lot of athletes have found this time where most of us have been staying home as a perfect opportunity to get a lot of Poomsae experience, where some athletes may have just had an opportunity 2 or 3 times during the year. Some athletes, we've seen the record of 15 or so tournaments during this past year. That's quite a bit.
Right, there are a ton of opportunities, especially with the international tournaments. So you can compete in a European tournament, in a tournament in the Pacific, in Latin America, all, just from your local dojang, and submit them. And the price has been really all over too. Some tournaments are as cheap as like $20. So you really get an opportunity to do a lot and get feedback from a bunch of different referees.
All right, nice strong finish from Alfredo Lopez and choreo. Yeah, I remember the first tournament, the European online Dado tournament, and Alfredo gets a 6.8 on choreo, and I think that one was $12.
Wow.
That was just a really big welcome and invitation, and kind of just everybody embracing each other during COVID to continue working hard and training. So Alfredo finishes up with a 6.965. That's a really good score in this preliminary flight. This is Eric Ayala, and Eric is from Texas as well. He trains at Golden Eagle Taekwondo with his coach, Aaron
This was also a new dojang for us. We hadn't seen them before the US Open. We've seen quite a few athletes in the Cadet and Junior divisions so far. Eric also doing a really good job moving quickly through these Poomsae. A nice fun fact for him is that he was chosen for the instructor program at his dojo.
Oh, nice. Great. He gets a 5.1. So that's wonderful to see athletes helping other athletes, bringing them along behind them and making sure that they have fantastic role models. So a good thing Eric can do is study all the people in the division and make sure that he really understands and that his coach understands how they can best utilize in the ring his particular strengths. So you got a 5.1, so some growing room for sure. So the next question is, how are we going to get to the next step? So maybe laying those stances will help a bit.
Our sparring athletes haven't had the opportunity to compete in, a year mostly. A lot of tournaments have not been in person. So they have that university, Taekwondo University that USA Taekwondo put out. I hear there's a lot of really great courses there, but I also hear in their notes, they said the Poomsae University is coming.
Right. So we have that to look forward to. So Eric got a 5.06 to finish the 5.1. Good job and a nice start for him as he begins to compete. So he finishes with a 5.080, and he may have had some years of competition, but this international competition will really help him develop. This is Alvin Chang from Just Taekwondo. He trains in California with his coach, Justin Wang, a multi-time national team athlete. So you mentioned about the university. I had an opportunity to look at the sparring Taekwondo university that USA Taekwondo is offering, and it's fantastic. There's a lot of good coursework, starting with back leg round kick and many lessons in back leg round kick. We all know how to do one, but boy, it's a very detailed and systematic way to understand how to use it, when to use it, why you use it, and so on. And then it continues to front leg kicking techniques and so on. So it'll be wonderful when we get the same for Poomsae. And I know that's a priority for USA Taekwondo, along with our talent ID camps, which are coming up this year. This is Alvin Chang from California, training with Just Taekwondo under his coach, Justin Wang. And he gets a 6.4.
시작.
Alvin's taking a very measured approach. He is not rushing at all. He's really letting himself pause between motions, but the overall tempo might just be a little bit slow. So I think as he gets more comfortable, he can speed this up just a little bit.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's time for him to take some chances. You know, I know that he's been training for a long time and that he's ready for the next step. He's just got to allow himself to put the time and energy and speed into each of the techniques.
Follow.
So that's Alvin Chang from Just Taekwondo. He received a 6.4 for the first Poomsae. Take a Paul Jong.
Kimmy.
And now for the second, a little bit higher, 6.47. He has tons of potential. It's time to train, Alvin. Trying to start working on that speed and timing. So he gets a 6.435. So here are standing so far with Mikhail Cho with a little bit of lead in first place, followed by Ethan Kim, Samuel Bay just behind, Sean Teo, Alfredo Lopez, Caden Hoe, Peyton Yoon, Ryan Yoon, Apollo Tan, Andrew Fong, Alvin Chang, and Daniel Cho in the number 12 spot. But as Miyako mentioned, we're taking the top 19. So everybody so far, we all need to enjoy this. Everybody has made the cut so far. So up next, we have Cody too. Cody's from California. He trains at KS Choi Taekwondo Center under his coach, Daniel Choi and Megan Yu.
Cody is one of our youngest athletes. He's 11 right now, which means he's turning 12 this year at some point. But this is probably one of his first divisions or first tournaments as a cadet. Previously he was in the youth division. He's looking very clean, very calm. Even though he's one of the youngest athletes, he's saying, I have power, I'm clean. Judges,
right.
Give me a good score.
Hey, he looks good. I don't know about this camera angle from up above. I don't think it's doing him justice. He gets a 6.93. I think he might have a little bit more presentation value if he just brings that down a little bit to belt level. I don't know if it's upraised on a shelf or some such.
시작.
Nice side kicks. Again, this mat, it looks like
Wow.
there's some kind of tarp or something over the mats maybe, but does not bother him at all on these kicks. Wow.
Great reach.
Little bit up and down on the transitions. I think the kicks are definitely the highlight, but maybe making sure like on that first bar, especially here, we want to stay nice and low in the transitions.
바로.
Right, so that's Cody. Nope, sorry.
Cadet.
Yes,
Cadet.
it's Cody too. And he got a 6.93 for his first form, and now a
Wow.
7.3 for the second. What a jump.
Yeah, big jump, but good job on that second form.
Those kicking techniques, those side kicks, really helped him boost his score. He finished with a 7.115.
준비.
Up next, we have YG Ong. YG trains in New Jersey at Apex Tiger Martial Arts under his coach, Gillett Gun.
And he was a national team member in 2020 and won gold in Team Poomsae at the US Open last year. And we remember him from the Grand Slam.
Yeah, really nice reach and control.
바로.
And he gets a huge score, 7.47. I feel like he did a couple practice runs to get his timing in, and then he just clicked it. Everything just felt really good.
시작.
Yeah, he looks very comfortable, and he has the highest score here on the first form
Wow.
by a couple tenths.
Well, he has that low center of gravity, and that really helps when he's boosting up to those kicks, using that core to stabilize him. He looks really strong. Little leaning forward on that particular step there, going to the back. And showing off the nice reach here close to the camera. Almost out of frame on that right side kick there, his elbow almost out of frame. Looked like he swung up that right side kick just a little bit.
바로.
Good, nice strong performance
Sure.
for YG Ong.
Cadet.
And he got a 7.47, so that by far is our highest score so far, right? But that is Mikhail Cho's total score, so let's see what he gets. A little higher, 7.640. So it looks like that's going to move him into first place with a 7.555
준비.
combined score. This is Alexander Flynn.
시작.
Alexander again from Golden Eagle Taekwondo, competing there with a lot of his teammates in Texas. And he's coached by Aaron
So you mentioned the athlete just before this, his combined score did put him into first place, but Mikhail Cho had a 7.7 on his choreo. So that's still the high score right now over both forms, I think.
바로.
That's
But
right.
his combined score put him into second place. So I think for Alex and some of his teammates might be transitioning to the sport Poomsae style. We just have to watch some of these other athletes to clean up some of the accuracy because we did take a bunch of hits here.
Well, Alexander definitely knows what direction
See,
he's
check.
moving toward when he does each of the lines of the Poomsae. So there's no hesitation. It seems like as he's going from line to line, side to side, he knows exactly where he's headed. So that's a good start. Now the next piece for him, looks like he's having fun.
Yeah, he looks so happy.
It almost looked like he was smiling there on that
Yeah.
transition. And he's got a lot of flexibility, so a lot to work with here. That was some good balance. So he kicked really high in one direction, but he was looking in the direction he was going to move to next. So just like that. That takes a lot of balance. I don't think I could do that and not fall over. He's going for a strong finish here. Right, no hesitation in where he's going. He's trying to be very careful about where these hand techniques are landing. So good job to Alex Flynn. It might be his first time in an international competition. Can you imagine being a cadet? And this is an opportunity that's given to you to train and compete at an international level. 3.2, so you can just imagine how much that score is going to grow over the coming years. What a great story that'll be. So he gets a 3.485. Up next, we have Michael Bowles. Michael is from New Jersey. Nope, sorry, no, you're not. He's from Illinois. And Michael trains at LFM with his coach, Yuchan Lee.
Ooh, look at that. He has his name on the back of his uniform.
That is something else. I have not seen that in this event yet.
No. Those are some great tips up there on the wall behind him. Confidence, focus, power. I feel like confidence really is just such a big thing. You have to walk onto the mat with confidence, and it projects, and the judges can definitely feel it. Even through the video, you have to have that confidence.
Right. How do you get confidence? You practice a lot and you come prepared, and then you know that you're the best one on the ring. It's just a matter of getting out there. It's a 6.3 for Michael Bowles pole jump.
시작!
Real nice flexibility going up through these side kicks. Nice reach. So he has a lot more structure to the front kicks, a full chamber and a full extension. So you just need to do the same thing with the side kicks where there's a full chamber and the legs just not swinging up from the ground. Oh, looked like his hand might have been open on that transition.
So I think there he might not have had that fist hit the open hand. You do want a natural sound there, but smooth is good. We do want that smoothness with just that little pop at the end.
I see a lot of rise and fall in his chest. He's really putting a lot into it, breathing, like an athlete there, really breathing heavily toward the end, trying to catch his breath. Took a few hits on the accuracy with the 2.5, but finishes with a strong 6.33 and a combined 6.315. So up next, we have Harrison Ben. Harrison is from New South Wales in Australia. Welcome. Harrison trains at the Australian Martial Arts Academy under his coach, Hakan Manav.
So Harrison, like you mentioned, from Australia, but he's been competing not only in the Australian tournaments, but he competed in the first Lens Taekwondo Championships, where he finished 16th out of 44. Actually, prelims was 87 athletes.
Wow.
And then he also competed in a tournament in Argentina, the Semjoko online tournament, where he won the cadet division. So that's so great. He did a tournament in Europe, a tournament in Latin America. He's from Australia, and now here at the US Open.
And look at that score. So it's all paying off. Gets a 7.17, which is a pretty safe score here in this preliminary flight of the Male Cadet Division.
Right, after the next athlete, we'll get to take a look at those standings again. So we'll continue to get a better and better idea of what that cutoff will be. But for now, at least, anything above a 7 seems to be pretty darn safe.
Right, he had a beautiful set of side kicks on that first line. Really nicely aligned. I can't wait to see the ones on this top line here.
He could be closer to the camera. Actually, he's a little bit far
Right.
away. That right leg side kick really just easily going up there.
Yeah, it's a nice finished look. Like that would be the time to take the photo. Definitely. Little coming and going, some things to work on there to smoothen it out a bit. This is great to use your full core through the back line so the judges can appreciate it, but we probably don't want to let that front knee wobble in and out as we do that. So it's Harrison Ben, he got a 7.17 on Paul Jung. It's a good, strong score. Again, he's from New South Wales in Australia. And he gets a second score nice and high, is 7.24. He trains at the Australian Martial Arts Academy under his coach, Hakan Mono. He finishes with a 7.205. Up next, we have Mendel Gillett from Washington. He trains at Shin's Taekwondo Academy under his coach, Don Shin. Well, now talk about up close, Miyako. This is a really good view.
Yeah, he's nice and big in our screen. I think he needs to work a little bit to do 8 counts on those uppercuts. So 8 seconds on both sides will immediately give him some extra points back here.
That's a long time, Miyako.
It's hard to count to 8. You know, I always end up doing it fast, and I actually sometimes count to 10 to make sure that it ends up being 8.
That's Mendel Gillett with a score of 4.67. He looks like he may be new to international competition here. Well, look at that side kick. Lots of potential here.
I think all these front stances just a little bit longer. He can sink lower. So just bend your knees. Sit in that chair. That's not there in your horse stance.
Right. So going back to basics, sometimes we think when we become a black belt that, you know, or some people have the view that they're kind of done with the basics, but that's where it really begins. Get a black belt and then you go right back to your basics and make them look stronger and really refined. So Mendel got a 4.67 and a 5.04, so he got a 4.855. And here are our standings so far. Now, a little change in the standings from the last time we saw him with Wajing Ong now in first place, but right behind Mikhail Cho, Ethan Kim, Harrison Ben, Samuel Bay, followed by Cody Tu, Sean Thiel, and Alfredo Lopez Salas. Those are the top 8 spots, but again, we're looking for the top 19. So now our cutoff is, you know, going to be probably moving around a bit, but for right now, it's a 6.06.
준비.
Up next, we have Raga Pururi,
시작.
and he's from California. He trains at Sky Martial Arts Academy with his coach, Joseph Yoon.
He is a very tall cadet. I thought I was watching the juniors for a second there.
Yeah, lucky him. Look at those legs. little short on those uppercuts. Needed to extend those a little bit higher.
So I think usually for this division, the cadet division, they wear a poom belt, which is half black, half red. It looks like the collar, but the black goes on top for the belt.
Right. I think we've seen a couple in this division wearing a full black belt. So everybody just needs to check the event packet and take a look at what uniform requirements are. So Rogov gets a 5.33.
시작.
Oh, good effort in that alignment. Almost all the way there. See what I mean? Like he's got a pretty good start on this alignment. It's like
Right, well, it's hard. He's like 12 feet tall. His leg has to go super far up.
on the front kicks to the front, he actually looked pretty solid. When he goes to the sides, we see a little bit of leaning back and such, but coming forward, he looked really strong. Really trying to put a lot of body into it. So the front knee here was what I was talking about in the past performances there. I want to keep those knees steady in the front stance. So that's Raga Pururi, got a 5.33 for the first form. We have had quite a few 4s and 5s and 3s. It's all over the place for this division. He gets a 5.6. I mean, isn't this a really big range? I think one of our biggest Miyako of the event so far.
Yeah, well, it's a really big division. So we have a bunch of athletes.
Raga finishes with a 5.465, and up next we have Cameron Bolan. Cameron is from Texas, and he trained with his coach Kuhn Lee. So Cameron looks like he's really focusing on where to finish the technique. You could almost see him thinking, I need to finish here. I need to finish this technique there. He's really centered on that, which is a good place to start. So he gets a 5.36.
스톱.
Yeah, he's doing a lot of things right. He's trying to keep these stances low, trying to stay low in the transitions as well, but some of those stances are still just a little bit short, a little bit off. Hands here on the front kick should come into the body, but it looks like he's a very thoughtful athlete, done a lot of training because we can tell he's thinking hard about it, applying everything he's been working on. So hopefully he takes these tips, watches some of the other athletes with high scores, and could just start to incorporate some of those things, a little bit faster tempo into his form.
A lot of good moments in this Poomsae.
바로.
He's trying to use a lot of volume. That's a good place to start. So that's Cameron Bolan, got a 5.36 for his first Poomsae. And again, he's from Texas. He gets a 5.43 for the second. He's coached by his master, Kuhn Lee. So he's going to finish with a 5.395. We'll have two Lees coming up in a row. First is Jaden Lee. And Jaden trains in Georgia with Kim's K Taekwondo. trying to dial up the power here in Taega Paljong, which is great. Little leaning forward on those front stances, but otherwise, really good performance. Really trying to bring it up a couple notches with the power. He gets a good score, 7.27.
시작. 바로. 셔. 차렷. 정례.
Got a 7.27 and now a huge 7.4. And he'll finish with a 7.335.
준비.
Up next, we have Enoch Lee.
시작.
Enoch is from Massachusetts and he trains at Evolution Martial Arts with his coach, John Hyun Yi.
So Enoch Lee is a fairly new black belt. He just got his first Poom a year ago in February. So been able to start learning all these new forms in the past year during quarantine. So who knows if he was learning some of these black belt forms maybe on Zoom. But here looking strong with Paljong.
Yeah, I've taught a lot of Poomsae on Zoom and it's a challenge for athletes and I give them a lot of credit for being able to go with the flow. Sometimes I have to teach it backwards so they can see it frontwards. Sometimes frontwards because they get confused by backwards.
Yeah.
So whatever works. It's a 6.34. So I'm really thankful when we can go out to a park and do some training there where we can actually see each other and it's a little easier to follow along. But yeah, it's really tough for these new black belts to pick up these forms under certainly difficult situations. Those were a great set of side kicks there to start off with.
Really nice turning of the shoulders on these hand techniques as well, really pushing through.
And this view is really nice of him. It's really centered on just him and not a lot of distractions in the room. Sometimes we see a ton of stuff in the background, a lot of distractions, but it's all him in this space.
So our cutoff right now, I think, is still a 6.06.
차렷.
So it's fairly different from
Okay.
previous flights in the divisions that we've had so far for the cadets and juniors.
Right, a little bit lower in this flight. So he gets a 6.97 for this
Wow.
form. That was actually a really strong performance. And he finishes with a 6.655, so safe for now. So up next, we have Ryan Sitram in this great sub-basement. What space is this, do you think? A basement?
Yeah, I think it's their basement. There's no windows. We can't tell.
Both he and his father compete in the same space and they do magic in this small mat here. So it looks like it's just about a 3x5 space and they are able to stay on there the whole time. That was a really nice front kick.
Yeah,
Real big
nice
reach. Yeah.
long legs.
Yeah, it looks like a meter over his head.
Well, so Ryan is another athlete who's done just a ton of these online tournaments already this year. He competed in the AAU tournament, a British tournament, JCalco UK Open, the online Bavarian International Open.
I think it's a 6.83. I think as well as the in Summer Poomsae and the Grand Slam as well.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the Puerto Rico tournament, and he's medaled in so many of these events. So I think definitely helped. And then working with his dad, I'm sure too, helps somebody to train with at home. It can be hard to try and get motivation when you're by yourself, but having them, they should compete in the WT online family or pair division.
He's gotten a lot stronger over this last year, at least since the Summer Poomsae, where I think I saw him first. Nice reach there. See how he does with this wall. A little tough on
Wow.
the legs for the front stance, but does a great job kind of tuning that out.
Well, if he grows any taller, I don't know how he's going to fit.
I don't know how he's going to do in a face-to-face tournament when he has all that mat. He's probably, well, I'm in heaven. That's Ryan Sitram. He got a 6.83. And now for this one, nice, strong 7.16. That is a good score for him in this round. So he gets a 6.995. And up next, we have Ethan Cohen. Ethan trains in New York at YH Park Taekwondo Academy under his coach, Alex Tercia.
He has a pretty solid front knee there, but he's also not quite getting the rotation of the hips. So something to work on for that 8 count.
Got both those kicks nice and high up to the head. In the front stance, there's a lot going on there. He has some really good front stance moments, and then others where he's just a little bit too short. He gets a 6.57. A little short there.
Ooh, just barely stays in screen.
Nice and strong. Oh, he needed to close that hand a little bit earlier, right at the shoulder height. He reminds me a little bit of a young Andrew Hurd. So I think maybe it would be a good idea if Ethan goes to the Senior 1 division competition, watches Andrew Hurd. That would be a good one for him to watch. A little similar body type, 6.27. How did Andrew do in the US Open? Finishes with a 6.42.
I think he just missed out on the finals.
Ah, so close. Okay, so standings now. Waijing Ong in first, followed by Mikhail Cho, Jaden Lee, Ethan Kim, Harrison Ben, Samuel Bay, Cody Tu, and Sean Thiel in those first top 8 spots. But we have all the way up to 19. So continue with Ryan Sitram, Alfredo Lopez Salas. And then here's our next screen going up to our cutoff now did jump up a little bit. Look at that. 6.415 for that number 19 spot.
And we have 8 athletes left. So We will take a look, make sure that we are watching that 6.415 cutoff for now and see if it goes up and see if you make it into the semifinals.
준비.
This is Isaiah
시작.
Morales Hill. He's Spirit Taekwondo in Nevada. He's coached by Yasmin Brown. Nice garage space.
So Isaiah competed in his first US Open in 2019. I remember my first US Open. I feel like it's the first time, it was at least my first international tournament, and it was something I'll always remember. So seems like he did as well. But now here in 2021, a couple years later, and he's opening up nice and strong.
Was he in Grand Slam or Summer Poomsae?
I can't
바로.
tell, but I do feel like I recognize him and his name.
I recognize his technique. He got a 6.73. Looks like he's gotten a little stronger.
시작.
Real patient now. Nice finishes. Maybe it's just a little too long on the patience there. A little bit too much waiting. Got to connect a little bit more to the next step. Definitely on the right track.
바로. 샷. 드렛 형님.
That's Isaiah Hill with a nice, strong, different look for choreo. Look at that score, 7.23. All that hard work has paid off. So you got a 6.73 and a 7.23. Finishing with a 6.9, and you need to get a 6.415. So he's pretty safe for now. This is Rami Tatawi, and he is from Connecticut. He trains at World Champion Taekwondo in Brantford with his coach, Gunsu Kim. Good job to Ronnie Tatali. I think the best line was that one coming toward the camera. He was very accurate in those techniques. So he gets a 6.37. You need to be aware though that that cutoff is 6.415. So you'll need to do a little boosting here on the score for a choreo.
And I think with Isaiah getting that big 6.9, that cutoff now moved up one spot, somewhere around a 6.5 or so. So definitely as we get scores in the high sixes, that cutoff is going to keep pushing up.
Right, he's going to have to really boost up on these. He had a good first set of side kicks, surprisingly high. I wasn't expecting that.
And that may do it for him. You know, we've seen athletes with really great side kicks able to get massive jumps here on choreo compared to Paljong.
Yeah, they sure have. And so that's really going to play a part for him. He needs to boost that score to get that combination of scores over 6.415. So let's see how Rami did. He got that 6.37 and now it's 6.2. So that unfortunately is going to be just under what he needs to have to move on. He's going to finish with a 6.285.
준비.
Up next, we have Isaac Kim. Isaac is from Texas and he trains
Stop.
at Lee's US Taekwondo under his coach, Fong Kim.
Looks like on that first line coming forward, he was really trying to push the power. We'll see if he continues it now here in the second half.
Right, that looks like that's his strategy for sure. He's able to power up that front kick on the center line. On these, not quite as high, or at least not the appearance of the height as that last one going forward. So you're right, though. He's really trying to power up on some of the hand techniques, more so at the beginning of the form, right? He lost a little, or maybe it was just the distance from the camera.
경례.
We lose a little bit as we go away, but the name of his game is definitely Power Up. So that's Isaac Kim from Texas, and he gets a 6.87. And that's a good score, so let's see how he does in choreo.
Yeah, if you see that accuracy
To me.
score was a 2.8, but the presentation was like a 4.7. So his presentation
Stop.
definitely is carrying his score here. That power is definitely working for him.
Nice start to this one too, and a little better timing, I think, on this one. Little head nodding on the front kick, so just need to keep that head steady. Looks like he rotates and then his shoulders go over, so he continues to rotate. That's a very common thing for that side kick. So you're pulling back the hands, right? And at the same time, you're trying to keep your shoulders steady. And over rotating is a common thing that you need to think about.
쉬어. 차렷.
Because Isaac Kim with a
경례.
6.87 for Paul Jung. I think maybe a little bit higher score for choreo. Let's see, the judges agree. Yes, 6.9. So he'll finish with a 6.885.
준비.
Up next, we have Donhui Kim. Donhui is from Georgia, and he trains with Kim K Taekwondo under his coach, Sungjin Kim.
Ooh, long stances here.
Right, so this is what we're looking for. He's at a really nice length here, and some of our athletes cut that short. So this is a good example. That one's a little shorter there. No balance check there. So I like where he's going with this nice effort into trying to get low and solid in those stances.
It is really hard. We see him having a couple balance checks, a couple of little bobbles, but I think it just takes a while to get used to being in those really long, deep stances.
And he gets a 6.7.
시작.
I was just working on this earlier today, these super deep stances, clean transitions, and my legs are tired. So I'm sure that Donhui's done a lot of work to be able to get both of these forms on one take with some of these nice stances.
Right, been a little high on those hand techniques. I'm not sure if that's camera angle or those were well above the neck there. Good reach on the side kicks. He really pushes hard on those. Clearly a lot of effort went into those side kicks.
Well, Don Hui's fun fact, he gave us one thing, Coach Brand. He likes games.
Likes games.
Games. Full stop. Period. Just games.
Wonder if he means video games or board games or outdoor games. So many games, Don Hui. I think it's a 7.0. That's a good score in this preliminary round. So he's going to finish with a 6.85. And up next we have Steven Mizwardi. I remember that name, and I remember this spot here from either the Grand Slam or Summer Poomsae. Sometimes they blend together in our memories, right?
They really do. He competed in the Grand Slam is where we last saw him.
Very thoughtful on these 8 counts.
Another athlete with just super long legs compared to his body.
Right, so his torso is relatively short compared to the length of his legs. His legs look to be about, I don't know, 5 feet 8 or something like that. His torso about 6 inches.
바로
No, I wish. That would be like the perfect leg and torso length. But how lucky for him. 6.83, so have all that to work with. It's a wonderful spot to be in, Steven. So he gets to 6.83 and safe for now. Although I think our cutoff has, eased its way up, right?
Yeah, I think we're probably up maybe around a 6.6 or so, 6.7 maybe. We'll have to take a look, but we are creeping up to the higher 6s now as the cutoff for the semis.
Right, not everybody's going to make it to the semis, but hopefully everybody feels really great about their participation in this tournament. It feels like they've learned a lot by watching themselves compete, and that it's a good time for them to meet up with their coaches and really come up with some goals for the rest of the year.
That's right. I don't think we have any major events announced in the next few months. So just like at the Grand Slam, it's a really good time right now to get together with your coach, work on a plan for the next few months. Look at the results from the US Open. What did the judges think? What did other athletes do? What can I start working on for the next 2 or 3 months before the next tournament?
Right, and if you feel you're ready to go, maybe get involved in the Talent ID camp, see if some national coaches can help you develop as well. So he gets a 7.03. That's a good score. Finishing with a 6.93. I'm guessing that's going to be safe. This is Dason Mortkin. And Dason trains, as you can see in the background, Apex Technical Academy in Colorado. And he trains with his coach, Cliff Hong.
Dason plays several instruments, including the French horn and both acoustic and the electric guitar.
Wow. We have a lot of athletes that are musicians as well as doing Taekwondo, which is great that their parents support them in so many different endeavors. So I give them a lot of credit. Thanks to all the parents out there who, driving kids like Dason to Taekwondo class and music class and probably many other things as well.
That's right. And then, of course, he has to practice that at home.
Yeah. He gets a 6.0. It'd be great if just one time everybody brought their instrument to a tournament and just gathered there and play this wonderful concert for all the rest of us who haven't picked up an instrument in years.
Right? We could have a full orchestra.
That would really be a lot. Maybe not for you. I know you have a cello in the background there.
Well, I'm lucky. I get to hear music at home as well. I don't play, but my husband plays, and I get to hear lovely classical music.
Well, maybe he can come with you. Big cello with him. So this is Dason Morgan looking pretty good on choreo here. Yeah, 6.03. He's gonna need to boost his score in choreo. Let's see if he has a strong finish here.
Yeah, I've been
Hold on.
surprised some athletes really able to boost their score up like 4.4. And I think that Dason actually looks stronger in choreo here than Paul Jung.
Right, so he got a 6.03 in that first one. Our last cutoff was 6.415, but it may very well have gone up. So he gets a 5.83, a little bit of a dip for that second score. A little homework to do along with that music practice. So he's gonna finish with a 5.93. So here are our standings so far with 2 more athletes to go, I think. Is that right, Miyako?
Yep, just 2
to
more.
go. Right. So we have Waijing Ong in first place, followed by Mikhail Cho. They've been sitting there for quite a long time, along with Jaden Lee, Ethan Kim, Harrison Ben, Samuel Bay, Cody Tu, and Sean Thiel for the first 8. And we're looking for the first 19. So we're gonna have a screen change here so you can see what that cutoff is. And right now it has jumped significantly to a 6.755. So now it's creeping up to closer to where it was for some of our other divisions, closer to a 7.
Yeah, that's right. It looks like only our top 12 or so athletes actually yet in a 7. So a bigger range of scores here, but that's also, you know, we're getting referees. In the Grand Slam, there were a ton of ties, but in the US Open, we haven't had too many. So I think referees really using the range of scores this time.
Right. Yeah, we have quite a big range from a 3 to about a 7.5, right? So that's a big range. So this is Harrison Kim, and Harrison trains at World Champion Taekwondo and Amity with his coach, Gunsu Kim and Henry Kim.
Pretty solid here, but could use some movement, some twist in the hips.
That's Harrison Kim from Connecticut, training at a World Champion Taekwondo and Amity, and he gets a 6.6, and that's just under that cutoff. So it needs to be a combined score for Harrison of 6.715, and let's see if he can pull that off in choreo. It's so interesting. All of these rounds have been so exciting at the end, right? Coming down to that last form, right, Miyako?
Yeah, it's always, you know, these last couple athletes coming out nice and strong. It really puts into, you know, who's going to make that cutoff. And hopefully you're safely into the semis. But for a few athletes, it's really dramatic here in the last couple athletes. Watching that score tick up and up for the cutoff.
Right, and not just for the athletes, but for their families. I'm sure we have a lot of, not just parents watching, but grandparents, aunts and uncles, because since most of us have a fairly restricted, you know, travel schedule or extra activity schedule, it's a good opportunity for us all to sit down and enjoy the US Open. So I'm sure he has some family members, maybe even across the country or across the world, tuning in tonight. So let's all root for Harrison here. He got a 6.6 and now a 6.5, so just under that cutoff. But with so many family members watching, probably a lot of support for him. He gets it, finishes with a 6.565, just under that 6.755 cutoff. This is Alexander Jager, and he's from California. He trains at Sky Martial Arts. We have quite a few athletes from that club. He trains with his coach, Joseph Yoon. Being really careful to do all 8 counts. Needs to make sure he's, has a nice clean finish there. these athletes have done a really good job to get used to the camera. Some people are very camera shy or really throws them off, but these young athletes have adapted very quickly.
Well, they're doing a lot of work, all their schooling or a lot of schooling the past year has been online. So they're probably getting used to it. I remember the summer of Poomsae, sometimes we'd see athletes look into the camera as they were transitioning, but not anymore.
Right, you guys have 5.46. Yeah, they're getting more and more sophisticated about how to use that camera.
시작.
And this is our last athlete of the flight. So at this point, you should be able to go back to episode 1, where we had the first flight of the cadet males, where I think we took, looking back at my notes here, we took 19 from that cadet group as well. 19 from this cadet group. So our semifinals is going to be massive. It's going to be like 38 competitors. And then from there, the finals is going to be 8. So that's going to be a hard cutoff, 38 down to 8.
Right, in past years, I don't know if the youngsters know this, but we didn't always have these kind of competitions where we can watch every other athlete that's in the event as well. It used to be, you go to a tournament and just participate in your own division and maybe in a holding area, or may have to move to a different area in the venue, maybe not get to appreciate everybody that was going up. Now we get to study every single division, every single athlete. So hopefully athletes like Alexander can take the time, watch the whole event at home, because we're running these episodes almost back to back, one night after the next, from the prelim round to the semis to the finals. Plenty to study and enjoy. So this is Alexander Jaeger with a 5.43, just under that Taeguk Paljung. And that's hard to do because choreo is so much more difficult. So he's going to finish with a 5.445. And not able to move to the semifinal round, but hopefully able to really enjoy the semifinal round, cheering on the athletes in the division and learning a ton on the way. But here are our standings. Weijing Ong finishing in first, followed by Mikhail Cho, Jaden Lee, Ethan Kim, Harrison Ben, Samuel Bay, Cody Tu, Shanteo, Ryan Sitaram. And here are the following, going all the way up to the top 19, finishing with Andrew Fong with that 6.755, and just below him, Enoch Lee, just missing with a 6.655. So congratulations to everybody in the division for a wonderful experience for all of us, and looking forward to the semifinal round.
Okay, and moving right along, we now have the female recognized cadet division. This is the second flight. And so we have 34 in this flight.
Right, we're going to start it off with Eva Lee Youngju Ro from Illinois. She trains at Aki Martial Arts.
So we're getting to see Taeguk 7 and 8. Again, each flight has the same forms. We've seen a few athletes from this dojang, Aki Martial Arts, and she's very clean, pretty good, just needs to sink a little bit lower into those stances. I feel like that's the common thread here.
Right, and she gets a 6.940. So it's always a good place to start, being really careful and intentional, and then over time adding the speed, adding a little bit more rhythm, adding some power. That one started off with some good power. I think she feels a little bit better on this one. really nice height on the front kicks.
Yeah, that's definitely, wow, it's really nice. That's a nice tight chamber. And then that foot extends nice and high here. We got to see both of those over her head.
Right, really surprising.
Well, the rest of her body is so calm.
바로
And like you mentioned, she's going to continue to work on that power, but the front kicks are very popping.
샷.
Right, it's a little gift for our eyes as we watch her perform her Poomsae. So she gets a little bit higher score there, 6.96. Good job. So she's going to finish with a 6.950.
시작.
Up next, we'll have Zoe Dong. Zoe is from California. She trains at High Five Taekwondo with her coach, John Yi. Good job to Zoe Dong. She did a nice transition to that last line there, making sure her heel stayed down. No popping there. Gets a good score, 7.14.
시작.
This is one of Zoe's first tournaments, if not her very first tournament in the cadet division. Last year, she was in the youth black belt division, and she did compete in the US Open in 2020 in that youth division in pair, and she won a bronze medal. She also represented the US. We can see there she's wearing a team uniform and team belt at the Pan Am Championships Poomsae team in the youth pair division, where she got a silver in 2020. I don't think I knew there was a youth pair division. That's fun.
Right, that's a really great division to be watching, our up-and-comers, right? Because they'll be cadets soon enough and then be eligible for the US team. So I really look to that youth group to see what's coming through our pipeline and what talent we're going to be having. And it's a group full of very strong athletes. That's Zoe Dong. She gets a 7.14 and now followed by a 7.03 on Chojung. So she'll finish with a 7.085. This is
준비.
Yoon Liu.
시작.
Yuning trains in California at Elite Taekwondo Center and her coach, Kwangil Bae. Stay nice and level on the turns. That's really important on this top line here.
Looks like she is hunching just a little bit on some of those techniques. So just try and relax those shoulders, keep them nice and low, especially during the kicks.
I think that'll feel better. So she just needs to meet up with her master instructor, just get a little bit of tooling done on that top line. She gets a 6.84.
시작.
She's also new to this division. She was in the youth last year, and she also went to the US Open in 2020 and won a silver in that youth pair division. That's a popular division, the youth pair. A little bit of settling here. Just want to stay nice and clean, no extra motion except that rotation.
Good effort on the front kicks. Just need to straighten out that support leg a little bit.
When she gets the timing right on some of her hand techniques with the finish of the extension and the
Bravo.
pullback on the other hand at the same time, it looks so great. It's just sometimes like half, it's not quite
Sure.
finishing all together. So
Hey.
it looks a little bit off, but
Junior.
she's right there.
Right, I think the last line was a good example of what you're talking about when we want that full extension. Look at her score goes up right there.
Mhm.
So 7.1 for Yuning Liu. So she follows that first effort of 6.84 with that 7.1. So she'll end up with a 6.97. This is Bansri Patel from Golden Eagle Taekwondo. Golden Eagle is in Texas. She's trained there by her coach, Aaron. And this is a venue we've seen plenty of here in the US Open. So a lot
That's
of
right.
athletes. I'm not sure if a lot of these athletes are getting their first run at a huge competition like this, but it seems so. It looks like their master instructors really wanting to put all their athletes out there and getting them some good experience here.
Well, and that's such a good idea because this is a major tournament or it's 12.0. So there are lots of ranking points to be had here. Anybody who competes in a full division gets some amount of ranking points.
Right, and she starts out with a 5.44. So you mentioned it's a 12.0. So if I win a gold medal in this division, Miyako, I would get 12.0 points, or would I get?
The easy way to remember it is multiply by 10. So there's 120 points for that first place.
Right.
And then they do go down. So second place gets a little bit less, third place and fourth place a little bit less than that. And I'm gonna look up those scores really quickly so we can tell you a little bit about them.
Right, and it is dependent on how many athletes are in the finals, right? So if we have just a few people in the finals, you would not get 120 points. You would get a fraction of that. In this division, there'll be no issue with that. For sure, in the finals, there'll be a full rack, full stack, full pack of 8 athletes in the finals. So the winner will get 120 points. So she's going to finish with a 5.56, and Bansri Patel with a combined score of 5.5.
준비.
So by competing, introduce.
This is Hyerim Cho, Hyerim Cho from Virginia. She trains at US Tigers Taekwondo under her master Dennis Kim. Nice front kick start.
Yeah, so flexible. She also, it's hard to tell with these pans. Everybody looks like they're sitting a little high in the stances. But I did want to mention, so we know that first place person gets 120 points here with a full division, which we have in the cadets here. But anybody who competes in the prelims is going to get 29 points. So just by being here, submitting videos, you're getting 29 points. Semifinals, 38 points, and then 8th place. So making it to the finals, you start at 51 points, and then that goes up to 120.
Right, so here Hyerim's going to start off with a 6.9. So if there's only one athlete in the division, that doesn't happen very often. Certainly not happening in this tournament. The athlete would get 25% of those points, so 25% of 120. If there are 3 or less, they get a maximum of 50 points. If there are 4 or more, the athlete gets the full point. So some of the divisions are a little bit smaller. I think maybe the master 2, 3, 4 sometimes, a little bit smaller, but then they will get a fraction of those points. Oh, very nice kick up front. She looks like she's flirting there a little bit with going low with the Poomsae. So maybe just go ahead and make that commitment. Go down low and then stay a little bit lower.
Well, I don't think I've ever seen like this on her uniform. It says Poomsae team across the back and I think the front, but it's in like a silver metallic font. So it's kind of shiny actually. It almost disappears and then comes into focus.
쇼. 차렷. 경례.
It's kind of fun.
Interesting. US Tigers down the one side and then Poomsae team down the other. 7.0 for Hyerim Cho. So her score is going to be a 6.950 once we put the two together.
준비.
Here's another Golden Eagle Taekwondo athlete, Natalie.
시작. I hope that this whole tournament can be just a great resource for everybody competing to really watch yourself on a big screen, get some commentary, get the judges' feedback. Again, we have 5 judges.
Yeah, she starts with 3.8. You know, I had a student competing in the first session, and she said that she watched herself and then realized what I was talking about when I had mentioned somewhere around 1 million times. She mentioned that I had told her, but she didn't quite see it till she saw it on screen. And I was like, yes, I love it. Sometimes our layers of knowledge hit us in the most unexpected times, right?
Right.
So when these athletes are watching this session, hopefully they can see how they're moving and then compare themselves with others, maybe the top scores in the division, and then say, oh, okay, I get it. This is where I need to go.
Right. So I think for Natalia, really working on those stances, the back stance to front stance is a good fun transition for Paljung. And then some of those push blocks, making sure they're not going down but coming across, will really help her accuracy score.
Right. So she got 3.8, 3.8. That's a 7.6, right, Mia? No, that's a we average those two, bring those two together, and she finishes with a 3.8. Here are our standings so far. With Zoe Dong in first place, followed by Yuning Liu, Eva Rowe, Hiram Cho, Bansri Patel, and Natalie. But we're just getting started, right, Miyako? How many athletes do we have in this division?
That's right. We have 34. So we're going to take 17, the 17 highest scores into the semis.
This is Faith Lee. Faith trains in California with Taekwondo Tigers in Palo Alto under her coach, Haijin Jung.
We've seen quite a few athletes from this Taekwondo kids. Is it Taekwondo Tigers?
Right. So there's Taekwondo Tigers and then Taekwondo Kids, I think.
Right. A little bit slow in some of these techniques. I actually think she could speed them up a little bit, get a little better connection. Just a little slow there into that punch. Just go for it. Make those attacks nice and quick.
And she gets a 6.4. So I think with a lot of athletes, they're just trying to finish that technique in the right spot. And then once they start doing that, maybe they can add on a little bit more speed and power, as you mentioned.
And those are important because in the presentation, which is 60% of our total score, it's broken up into 3 categories, each of them getting 2 points out of that 6 points. And it's power and rhythm, your speed and tempo, and your expression of energy. Each of those are 2 points. Did I get that right?
Yes, kind of, for the most part.
I think I combined some categories, but making sure you're strong, making sure you have some speed and connection in your tempo, and then that expression of energy is the last one, which is kind of the most subjective for the judges, but making sure that your presence is good, your volume of motion is going the right way, just your whole presence on the mat.
Right, and you got some rhythm. You got some rhythm out there. Rhythm's good. Faith Lee, the 6.4, looked like when she finished coming forward on Paljung, she may have been looking down unless the camera just caught her off. And I think a lot of athletes might do that because it's such a self-conscious situation with the camera staring right at you. 6.4 can be unnerving if you're not used to having a camera in front of you. So it's completely understandable, but trust me, you get used to it. This is Ariana Kim. And Ariana is from Minnesota. She trains at the Kukiwon Taekwondo Academy under her coach, Young Kim. So we're seeing with a lot of these athletes is just maybe a need to return to some basic technique, basic stance work would be the primary goal at the beginning, and then layering everything else on top. She had a good transition there, no heel pop on that one. Little pivoting on the heels, so we want to make sure we're pivoting on the balls of the feet. And Ariana gets a 5.93
Well, she has a nice length, but we just lost all of that bend as she tried to twist her hips.
I
That
see
front
it.
knee, yeah, we
The
lose
more she
that.
twists, the straighter that front knee gets. That's difficult. Oh, on my screen looked like the foot almost went out of the frame. But we also have to realize if it does, we're not necessarily looking at the same screen the referees view the Poomsae in. So if you see something go out of screen, it may not necessarily have been seen the same way from a referee.
Right. And what we'll know there, those deductions show up on the middle of the screen on the scoreboard. So if she did go out, we'll see a little 0.3 deduction in the middle.
Right there it says deductions right in the center, nothing there. So that was all just fine. She got a 6.04. Like a lot of these athletes taking a significant amount of hits and the accuracy, and she finishes up with a 5.985. This is Chloe Ng. Chloe's from California. She trains at KS Choi Taekwondo Center with Megan Yi and Danny Choi.
Chloe has competed at a few tournaments here, but it seems like in 2021, just maybe a month or two ago, she did the AAU virtual nationals where she won a gold medal for cadet black belt Poomsae. But other than that, I don't see that she's competed in 2020. Before that, she had done 2019 nationals and those events. So maybe took 2020 off to train, was at home, and now really getting into it.
Oh, interesting. She gets a 6.97. So now that we have our championship series scheduled, it's a good opportunity for athletes to really choose the events that are really going to put them in the best spot to make the team.
Right, and this division, or I should say this flight of the cadets, are all American athletes. So we are using the ranking points here since they're all American. So we're starting at those who have no ranking points, and that order is randomized. And then we start going up towards the athletes who have the most number of points. But we did have, I mentioned a couple of youth athletes already. If you're aging up into a new division, you lose about half your points. So it kind of goes all over the ranking points. So we're starting a new year right now. Basically, look out for the tournaments that have ranking points that are majors. Those are going to give you lots of benefits. And then, of course, check out this new Grand Prix Champion Series that USA Taekwondo is putting together, especially for both sparring and Poomsae athletes.
Right, she gets a 7.07. That's a good score in this division. I think there's only one higher, and that was Zoe Dong on Taeguk Chiljung. So no higher score on this form. So she gets 7.020 combined score.
준비.
So this is Melody Zhuang.
시작.
Melody is competing in New York at East Taekwondo under her coach, Chen Chao Lu. Right, so with this championship series, it's kind of nice and pretty convenient in that we have one event on the West Coast, one event on the East Coast, and one event in the center of the US. So one on the West in Nevada in June, and followed by one, I'm not sure which one comes first, the central one or the east one, but we have one that's going to be in Texas. And then we have another one in the east.
I think in South Carolina.
Hello.
Right. So then that would be a good opportunity for everybody to get out there and really show what you have at that point. And you know what, Miyako? I think it's going to be in person.
It is going to be
Can you
in
believe
person.
that? That's going to be
I don't even know what to think.
our first chance back in our championship series. After that, we're going to have nationals right in August. And
That's right.
following that, our Grand Slam final event of the year in December in Colorado Springs.
Yeah, so USA Taekwondo announcing all of those steps for live tournaments, but There's also the Poomsae University, which is going to be coming out at some point. Lots of online lessons there. So if you're not comfortable, just hang in there. We're going to have lots of online resources for our athletes to keep developing.
Right, so this is Melody Zhuang from New York, training there at East Taekwondo.
Sure.
Under her coach Chen Chao Liu.
Tony.
She got a 6.7 for her first Poomsae, and now a 6.5. So, many of our athletes, she'll finish with a 6.6. Many of our athletes won't be able to become the dominant athlete of their division. Maybe there won't be a dominant athlete in the division at all. So there might need to be a team trial in a division if we're going to like a world championship, say. In that case, you really want to make sure you have a spot on the national roster, that you've earned your way into a team trial. And one way you can do that is to be identified at one of our talent ID camps. So our first one scheduled is for youth athletes. The next one will be scheduled for cadet, and we'll work our way up. This is Emily McCullough from California. She trains with Team Kim Boyan, and she gets a 6.6.
시작!
Our cadet athletes are just 12, 13, or 14 years old this year. I'm just so impressed. We have these young athletes for this session. These are our youngest athletes. In session 3, we'll get into those youths and tigers, dragons, teeny tots, teeny babies. So for now, these are our youngest athletes. And for the most part, they definitely know the form, and they're now just starting to understand and develop their power. So I think that's the next step here for our cadets, and then implementing that power in the junior and senior divisions.
And she gets a 6.5 for the second Poomsae. So you mentioned that our highest point owners are at the end of the division here today, or at the end of this prelim round. So we'll see a lot of athletes who've kind of dialed in their rhythm and their speed and their power, hopefully, and be a good role model for these athletes coming out first here. This is Caitlin Klingerman. Caitlin's from Indiana, and she trains at Co Martial Arts with her master Soon Ko.
Right, and we've seen in previous flights and divisions that cutoff is around a 7, give or take a few tenths, depending on which set of judges you have. So that's kind of where we'll keep our eye out, but it's not a hard cut. Each division is a little bit different. The referees are different each time, so keep that in mind. But like we said, the first set of athletes without any ranking points is random, so we did get a couple of 7s there in the beginning.
Right, we have a big range here, so Caitlin gets a 5.83, but already we're from the 3s to the 7s, so pretty big, scoring range. Wow, lots of speed. She's trying to throw lots of speed and power with those arms. Good job to Caitlin Klingerman. She got a 5.83 for her first form, and now a 6.16, a nice boost. I think that slow motion part helped her out in that form, really forced her to kind of slow it down and then pack on some heat after that. So she'll finish with a 5.995. Here are standings so far with Zoe Dong in first, followed by Chloe Ng, Yuning Liu, Eva Rowe, Hiram Cho, Melody Zhuang, Emily McCullough, and Faith Lee. Those are our top 8, but we're going to take the top 17 to the semifinal round.
준비.
This is Hannah Levino. And Hannah is from California.
시작.
She had a teammate just go up a couple minutes ago. She's from Team Kim Boyan.
So this is great. Hannah is just progressing in front of our eyes. In the summer of Poomsae, which was our first online event, she was a youth red belt and she got a bronze. And then she competed in the Grand Slam as a female youth red belt where she got 3rd. And now here she is in 2021 in the Cadet Division. So she's an athlete who must have had a lot of points from last year, but aging up now into cadet, so lost half of them going in, about 13th out of 33, but getting a massive score.
Yeah, great score. Yeah, so that is going to be a huge factor when the athletes start aging up and they lose 50%. It seems like, oh, it's so depressing, but it's not. All you need to do is just win a major, and then you're way back up again.
Right. That's it. Just win the major. Easy peasy, right, Hannah? Well, she's very tall for a cadet, especially one who just is aging up this year. She turns 12 in June.
That kicking height.
Yeah, well, that must have been a really big factor for her in the youth division. I mean, just a couple of months ago, she was a red belt with those massive kicks, and she's so tall. Even now as the cadet coming in really strong. A little bit off on some of these stances, some leaning on the torso to work through. But overall, really great effort here.
샷. 차렷. 경례.
Right, so that's Hannah Levino. She got a huge 7.27, followed by 6.94. So that's going to put her right up at the top here. Next time we see the standings. So she'll finish with a 7.105. I think it's a high score so far. Am I right?
준비.
That is, yep.
This is Malia Lynn Bayudan from Illinois. She trains at White Tiger Martial Arts Center. And she works with her coach there, Sheik Lee.
Those 2 hand techniques there should be fairly different. One is at the solar plexus, and then the fist comes up to philtrum. So need to just be careful on some of these hand techniques, making sure that they're on the right body part. And once they have a good understanding, that's really when we can go in and start tweaking those tiny little details, because you're not trying to keep 100 details in your head at once. You have to build those into your memory so your body just does it right after lots of good repetitions, and then you can start to tweak it.
Right, she gets a 6.97.
시작.
And that can be part of the problem with doing a Poomsae 100 times, is if you do it wrong 100 times, you're building in that memory into your body. So really, it's not about how many reps can you do, but how many thoughtful reps. How can you do it the right way, making sure that you're doing it accurately, building in the right muscle memory into your Poomsae. Here it looks like she's looking down a little bit too. Maybe just very calm. Nice height on the front kicks.
Definitely, the last half of this form, probably the highlight of her 2 performances there. So good job on Tego Paljong. So Malia got a 6.97 for her first form. And gets a 6.83 for the second. So she'll finish with a 6.9. That's a good score in this division so far. Up next, we have Lisa Tessel. I remember her from, I think, maybe the Grand Slam. So Lisa is training way far away from here in California. She's out in Florida, and she trains at American Tiger Martial Arts with her coach, Kathy Doe.
That's right. She did compete in the Grand Slam. She was 13 last year, so turning 14. This is her last year in the cadet division. She does look nice and tall, has those nice long limbs.
You see the window height? See the window height on the left? She's like
Yeah.
as tall almost as a window when she stands up out of this horse stance.
I'm pretty sure she's taller than her coach, Kathy Doe.
She gets a 6.86.
So a couple heel pops, a couple just off transition. So cleaning up those feet will give her just back those 0.2 that she needs on the accuracy.
Oh, way up there on the front kick though.
Tuck those hips underneath. We don't want that C curve in the back.
Right,
Just
she
a
can get
slight knee
fully
extension.
extended here. That'd be a really pretty picture if she can get fully extended and turned in this stance.
Yeah, some nice moments there.
Yeah, and things like so well on their way, right? Like you could just see in another year or so, it'll all be there for her. She gets 6.640. So Lisa will finish with a 6.75. And up next, we'll have Naya Lopez.
준비.
She's from Illinois. She trains at Flying V Martial Arts under her coach, Vincent
시작.
Viena.
Good difference of height on those two hand techniques, but maybe just a little bit slow and careful here. Diagonal line for the finish on her mark.
I didn't see anything. 6.03. It's a little easier, I think, to get back to your mark on Chiljung, though, right?
It depends on how off you are. I think the judges probably did take a couple tenths there for those stances because they weren't the correct placement for the feet. They were crossed over and really trying to get back to that spot. So that could have cost her a couple tenths, but if you miss your mark, you're taking a major deduction. So you gotta just figure out how to do it. This is a good thing to practice. Practice getting back to your mark and figure out where your stances are off, or maybe your transitions are just taking you in the wrong direction. I feel like these athletes all look more comfortable with 8 than they do with 7.
바로.
Yeah, interesting, huh? Well, Chiljung has all those little finicky details, right?
Cadet.
It does.
And Chiljung is very linear, so maybe the students are enjoying that. So she'll get a 6.27, higher than her first form, 6.03. And she'll finish with a 6.15. Up next, we have Haley Han from Connecticut. Wow, double air track back. That's cool.
시작.
So Haley is from Connecticut, as mentioned, at World Champion Taekwondo. We've seen this air track in the back, but usually it's in kind of an orange background, I think, isn't it?
Well, so she actually currently is in Korea. So this is a dojang we haven't seen before.
Oh, good point.
And she's training with the Dowon Gillett team in South Korea.
Interesting.
Yeah. So
So
we've
this-
seen the American Dowon Gillett team, but this is the, I
Right.
guess,
It's mentioning that she is from World Champion Taekwondo in Brantford, and her coaches are Gunsu Kim and Henny Kim.
right.
So she's getting a lot of help, 7.2. And how nice to be like surrounded by air track walls. You just bounce off them when you get tired.
시작.
So here's a pretty good long stance and not too much bend lost in that front knee as we get the hip rotation. It's a good example here of that. Clean 270 pivot, nice high front kicks. And so we see here she has a poom belt in the top, but she's in a full white uniform. I think for this tournament, there's no deductions for that. But do check tournament packets because sometimes there are rules about making sure you're wearing a Poomsae uniform. So just something to watch for in all of the tournament packets, but she looks great here. And no deductions for that in this tournament.
Right. We've had some students wearing full black belts, some wearing different colored uniforms. She gets 7.1. And some wearing uniforms with a lot of information on them. So we have to check the packs, make sure it's legal. 7.15. Up next, we have Calista de Guzman. Calista's from Delaware, and she trains at Apex Tiger Martial Arts under her coach, Giduk Gun.
Couple of those fists going outside the body line or a little bit high above the shoulder. But overall, she's really strong, has a good understanding of where to put the power in the technique, which is right at the end, and then having a nice clean finish.
바로
Right, the last line, probably the best line of her Poomsae, a little bit more accurate than that top line. So she gets a 7.47. That's a really good score. So this is where we start seeing how rhythm plays a part in the performance score.
시작.
Really trying to keep that front knee bent, nice and low across.
A little bit better on this side to not lean forward. Got to make sure those are all 8 counts though. I'm not sure if that was a little shy or right on. Seemed a little shy. Wow, really up high on these front kicks. Nice push.
Hands might have come off the body for the front kick off to the side. I know that when you're kicking your face, your hands can get in the way of your leg being right on your body, but make sure that as you move them out of the way, they don't come too far off of your chest because that could be a deduction.
쉬어. 차렷. 경례.
So that's Calista de Guzman. She got a huge score, the highest one so far. 7.47 for her first Poomsae. A little drop here to 7.4. So I think easily into first place now with the combined score 7.435. Here are standing so far with Calista there in first, followed by Haley Han, Hannah Levino, Zoe Dong, Chloe Ng, Yuning Liu, Eva Rowe, and Hiram Cho. But we're not just taking 8, right, Miyako?
Yeah, we're taking 17. And so we're just now about halfway through this flight. We still have the rest. We'll have all the way through those 33 athletes. But remember, we're taking top 17 And those scores are going to start to creep up now as we get into those athletes with the ranking points.
Right, so right now the cutoff is 5.5. I imagine that'll go much higher. This is Anna Chang from Eagles Taekwondo in Southern California.
Little bit of an up and down in that transition and leaning just slightly forward in these front stances at the top. So we're going to start to get a little bit nitpicky as the skill level goes up. So we're just going to give you little things that we're seeing. But overall,
I was about to there. The speed of the kicks on that rear line are going to matter. So we saw Calista de Guzman's real quick kicks on that last line of the Poomsae. And so that could be something that's impacting her presentation score. So these athletes have the speed to do it. They just have to make sure they're using that speed. Here, Anna seems to be a little bit short, not leaning forward or back or anything, but just a little short on the front stance. Real good kick height there. And there as well. Yeah. She's got good foot position on those kicks. Looks really strong. That's a highlight of her performance so far. I can see how she's using a lot of core movement and turn to make sure that she's put herself in a position to use a lot of power. So now she just has to add a little bit more speed to show off that power. So that's Anna Chang from Eagle Taekwondo in Southern California. She got a 7.17 and now following it up with a 7.07. And she finishes with a 7.12, a good score in this preliminary round of the female cadet. This is Mia Gloria, and Mia is from New York. She trains with her coach, Hyun Suk Lee.
A little bit high on that fist. Should be philtrum, not all the way up to temple. We have some results here for Mia. She placed second at the AAU Adirondack Regionals in 2019 and third place at AAU Nationals in 2018. But I don't have any tournament record for 2020. So maybe another athlete that took 2020 off, maybe did some other things at home or trained at home by themselves but didn't compete and now able to here come in looking strong for 2021.
Yeah, it's a really great time to come back in for this major event. She gets a 6.4 for her first Poomsae. You definitely don't want to sit anymore out. Now's the time to really put the upcoming events on your calendar. So go to USA Taekwondo Facebook page or website and note all the dates in the championship series. Of course, you won't go to all of them, all of the events. Some of them are based on where you live. So if you're out west, you'll go to the one in the west. If you're out east, you'll go to the east. And the idea is that you will just go to one, not all three.
Right, and I think that those are in place of, we used to have state championships. So now because the season is cut short, we're all still in lockdowns. We're trying to be safe still. Hopefully by the summer, you'll be able to travel to one, hopefully driving or, being safe in the travel process.
바로 차렷 경례.
So that's Mia Gloria. She's got a 6.4 and another one, 6.4. Do the math for me, Miyako. What does she finish with?
A 6.4.
Right. Good job, Mia. Up next, we're going to have Millie Johnson. Millie is coming to us from Oregon. She trains at US
Great.
World Class Taekwondo in Gresham and works with her coach Jorge Ortiz.
시작.
Well, that bun on top of her head gives her an extra 2 inches and she looks nice and tall.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that would be considered a fierce sphere, but it looks like it has just the right shape. So we talked about, that we might be able to do awards at one point, similar to the Emmy Awards and the Tony Awards, and we'd probably be calling them the Poomsae Awards or something like that, the Poomsaes maybe. And so that might be one of the categories, most fierce spheres.
Ooh.
We have some nominees,
바로.
right? We have the original Abigail Scrabak, and then we've had some since her first showing of those. She gets a 6.3.
시작.
Well, Millie does Taekwondo with her twin brother, and both of them with their mom got their black belt in the spring of 2019. And she says she's really proud of all of them, and we are also proud of all of you, Millie. So I think it's great that we continue. A lot of athletes drop out when they get that black belt. So those who continue to train, really understand it's just the beginning, and you can continue to learn and grow and have lots of opportunities to continue to improve. It's not always about making the national team. Always, we want to do the best that we can. We try and get those medals and placements, but being proud of yourself, gaining confidence, power, strength, flexibility, those are all really great takeaways too.
Doing a really good job on pole jump here. Her tempo is allowing her to really extend all those techniques. So good job to Millie Johnson. I never understood people who
Sure.
quit after they
Cadet.
finally
Cadet.
got their black belt. It's like, now you're a musician and you've reached symphony level performances and you quit. Like, why would you do that, right? She ends up with a 6.53. You finally got good at this and now you're gonna stop. So she'll finish with a 6.415.
준비.
This is Mara Laksamana. I remember Mara
시작.
from past events. She trains down in Southern California with Team Elite USA and her coach Victor Chung. And I remember her really packing on the power. I think it was either Summer Poomsae or Grand Slam.
Yeah, she did compete in the Grand Slam, and she was in the cadet division there, so she must be turning 13 this year, which is nice. She has some experience here and got a lot of medals, 4-time state champion in 2019 at California, Utah, Washington, and Nevada, maybe, all in 2019.
Huddle.
So lots of experience as an athlete. And she gets a 6.86 on her first form. And I should mention that in the Grand Slam and the Summer of Poomsae,
시작.
she was in the color belt division. So here's another athlete aging, or not aging, I keep saying aging up, graduating into the black belt division now. So we have her with some really great finishes. She got first place in the Summer of Poomsae. So now in the black belt division for the first time, we'll see how she does. She must have brought in a lot of points from the Grand Slam and the Summer of Poomsae, but then because going up into the black belt division, you lose some percentage of those points. I'd have to look up to be sure how many, but coming out super strong here. Nice, great long legs. And great finishing power.
바로. 차렷. 경례.
So for her second Poomsae, Mara gets a 6.96. That's a good score in this division.
Yeah, and a nice bump up, a 10th from her first score.
Right, she'll get a 6.91. This is Gian Legaspi.
준비
I remember Jean too, I think from both events, Summer Poomsae and Grand Slam, if I'm not mistaken. She trains at Han's Taekwondo Academy in California. And her coach, Francis Esposa. Do you remember she was in a very small?
Right.
yeah.
She was in like it looked like a room.
Yes.
Wasn't even as big as a
room.
garage maybe, but now here in a full dojang, I don't even know what to do. So much space.
Yeah. I barely recognized you in so much space.
Well, really lets her try and lengthen some of these stances.
Paro.
And I remember she also does sparring and has medaled in a lot of the sparring events, but also a nice, strong Poomsae competitor.
Right, and Jung, it's a 7.16 to start off with. That's a great score in this preliminary round.
See. Shut.
We've only had 6 scores in a 7 so far. Reminder, we are using ranking points here, so we're going in increasing order of ranking points. We expect the final athletes to be the strongest. But if you're in a 7 right now, you're definitely in the top third or so of the group. So you're looking okay, but we'll wait to see what that final cutoff ends up being.
Yeah, and when Miyako says strongest, she means strongest in past performances. We do not know what's going to happen today because anything can happen, especially in these young cadet divisions where people are developing at a crazy pace.
And we have seen some surprises and really great outstanding performances from athletes in the senior and master division, some new winners getting on that national team roster. So you never know what's going to happen. Somebody could have a really great day. Somebody could be slightly injured. We don't know. That's why we're here taking notes, watching the 2021 online US TKD Open.
Good, and Jiang, it says 6.7, so a little drop, but I don't know if that's going to matter at all on the cutoff for her because she still has a nice high score, 6.945. And the last time we looked at that, it was in the 5s. This is Emma Lee. Emma is from New York. She trains at Team East with her coach, Suji Kang.
So after Emma, we will get to look at those standings again. And now that we are going to be 24 athletes in, we'll have a slightly better idea of what that 17-person cutoff is going to be. But Emma here, opening strong. We have another athlete who was in the youth division last year. She won first place in the Summer of Poomsae in that youth division. Now up into the cadet division. A little bit of a slight lean in some of those stances with the torso. Just want to be careful, but a nice high score.
Yeah, huge score, 7.2.
Maybe going a little bit fast through those 8 counts. Want to get to at least 7 seconds.
Oh, wow. I didn't expect that kick to go up there like that. It's almost,
Wow.
looks like it could almost go over her head.
Yeah.
Like literally over her head, the top of the center of her head.
Well, so her coach, of course, is Master Suji Kang, who is a 4-time world champion in the Senior 1 division from South Korea, who also kicks literally straight up behind her head without any movement on her body. So taking after her coach.
You know, I eventually was able to do that. I just needed to cut all the tendons. My legs, they would snap up there. She finishes with a 7.035. So in our standings so far, we have Callista de Guzman in first, followed by Haley Han, Anna Chang, Hannah Levino, Zoe Dong, Emily, Chloe Ng, Yuning Liu, Eva Rowe, Hiram Cho, John Legosky, Mara I'll try one more time. Marla Salmana. And then we're going up to 14, so let's see where we're at. That includes Malia Bayudan and Lisa Tessel. And now our cutoff went from 5.5 to 6.75. And look
Oh,
at it
17.
go.
17 is 6.415.
Oh, sorry, 17. Oh, we still have Melody's wrong. I'm sorry, Emily McCall Johnson, I'm sorry. And now we're at 6.415. So about a full point ahead of where a bit ago as far as the cutoff. So this is Haley Kolbach. Looks like she's out in California. She trains with Watsonville Taekwondo Academy with her coach, Linda Nguchi.
Right, and Haley is a twin. We saw her twin sister in the previous flight, Allie. So nice that they got to be split up so they both have a fair chance here in the flights to try and move on to the semis.
So she's really trying to skip each of the finishes. That's Haley Kolbach. Her first score is 7.3.
These scores are creeping up now.
They sure are.
Although the last two athletes, we've had a pretty significant drop from Taeguk Chiljong to Taeguk Paljong, which is kind of the opposite. The first half of the division or so, we sort of saw Paljong feeling more comfortable. So it's really no strict rule here, just what each athlete is able to do with what form.
Right, so our highest score so far, I think, is a 7.435, and Haley so far starting off with a 7.3. So definitely knocking on the door. Let's see if she can boost up that score here in Taeguk Paljong.
Well, she's really pushing the length of the front stances, but because the other stances aren't as deep, she's dropping in height for some of those. So good job on the length and depth of some of those front stances, but they all have to be that deep. So we got to make sure we bend those knees in all the stances.
Right, so if you're out that deep in the front stance, when you come back to that Poomsae, you got to be at the same height. So that's Haley Kolbach from California. She got a 7.3 for first Poomsae, now a 7.17. So she's going to finish with a 7.235. Up next, we have Aileen Jung. Aileen trains in Illinois with iTiger Taekwondo and her coach, Boyan Kim.
Eileen competed at the national championships in 2019 in the cadet red belt division. So cadet in 2019, this being the third year, this is probably her last year in the cadet division, but she went from the red belt division now into the black belt division here and able to carry some of that power and success she had in the red belt into the black belt division.
Right, I did notice that power. That's Aileen Jung with a 7.37. That's the exact same score that Haley Kolbach got right before her. Wait, that's not right. Haley got a 7.3, right?
That's right, yeah. So she's just above Haley's.
Aileen just above.
Nice calm body, trying to make sure we get the power at the end without adding any extra movement in our torso. A little bit of some shoulder hunching here, even on the blocking techniques.
Staying level though, on those transitions. Nice head height going through that back line.
시어 차렷 경례.
That's Aileen Jung. She had a 7.37 for the first Poomsae, and now huge 7.5.
Wow, so that's a huge jump up, which we haven't seen
Sure
for a
is.
while.
And she finishes with a 7.435,
Mm,
which is the exact same score, right? As
Yeah.
Calista de Guzman.
that's right.
So this is Sruthi Venkataraman. I remember that
시작.
name. I will never forget that name because it's a challenge. Really nice high kicking technique there.
And I remember this room too because it looks like there's some stairs or something going down. This is up high. And I think they had a whole bunch of other boxes and just stuff in, might have been the Grand Slam, but now the parents totally cleaned out this room so she has plenty of space. So no excuses not to have long stances.
Right, the parents have surrendered. You can have the bonus room. Just make sure you're practicing. Good job to Shruti on her first form. Take a chill jump. She gets a good score, 7.27. So see, it was all worth it. So
So
Shruti
she's-
is from Texas. She trains at NTA Taekwondo.
Right, and she's coming in 8th for this flight, but it is combined of the 2 flights. So she's somewhere around the top, 15 or so athletes for this massive division. That's really great. I think if you're in the top quarter of the division, really, you're very strong. And then making it into the finals is going to be, I think, a very hard cutoff because we're going to go from around 34 or so, combining the 2 flights, into 8. So that semifinals is going to be a huge fight to the finals.
Right, that's where it gets pretty cruel, right? Like, we want to take everybody, but we can't.
Oh,
You
man.
see that? She's not playing.
That was fast up. That's really great example of not just flexibility, but like strong hamstrings, quads to be able to get the knee up that fast. I need to rewind that and watch again. I'll be right back.
Yeah. Really good performance from Shruti. She trains at NTA with her coach, Tu Doolittle. So she got a 7.27. I'm thinking, wow, I thought that might be a little bit higher.
I did too.
6.9. 7.085. So she'll be fine, I'm sure, going to the next round. This is Prisha Shamali. And Prisha is from New Jersey. She trains with Miracles USA Taekwondo with her coach, Suji Kang.
So at this point, all of these athletes have to have competed in some of our online events, probably multiple of our online events that have been sanctioned, because we're now in the top 8 of this flight. All of them have ranking points. Now it's just, can they be consistent, right? That's the next thing they have to work on, is consistently scoring high across multiple events throughout the year. That's what really helps you improve and stay on the top of the ranking point list, is being consistent.
And she gets a 7.1. So that's the point of the whole pathway, is USAT being able to select the athlete that has the most consistent high performance. Sometimes people can look great for a day or have a strong day based on the order of the Poomsae, or how they're feeling that day, or what the competition's feeling like that day. But to have a consistent high performance, that's what we're really looking for across many events throughout the entire year.
Right, and now that champion series has been posted from USA Taekwondo, do check it out, because there are a lot of events coming up throughout the rest of the year. We're going to have to be consistent across literally the rest of the year through 2021. And then, of course, Worlds is in 2022. And you might think that's so far away, but it's going to start coming up here real quick.
Yeah, it's really not. It's just right around the corner. That's how I picture it, for sure. That is Prisha,
차렷, 경례.
and she started off with a 7.14 and now gets a 7.3. So she's going to finish with a 7.22. That's a strong score in this division. Up next, we have Ella Ward from Virginia. She trains at Apex Tiger Martial Arts, and her coach, Gillett Gunn.
So we've had athletes at this school here, Team ATMA, which is in New Jersey, but she's from Virginia going up there to train. We had another one of her athletes or her teammates from Delaware going to New Jersey. And some of these, you know, East Coast states are small. You can drive that fairly quickly, not like some of those West Coast states where you're in the same state for hours and hours. But it's nice that they're able to have teammates from, you know, a wider range of space.
Good, so that's Ella Ward from Apex Tiger Martial Arts, training with Gillett Gunn. They're in New Jersey. She's from Virginia. How far is that? She starts at 7.4. That's a good score. What would that commute be like, Miyako?
Depends where in Virginia she's from. It is, you know, a fairly big state for East Coast standards. But I'm in Northern Virginia, or I'm from Northern Virginia. I could get to New Jersey in probably 2.5 hours.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You know, North Virginia to South Jersey. So it's not terrible, but I wouldn't want to do it more than once a week. Nice low soft transition there. We've seen a lot of athletes really click that front stance into place. That's one where you don't need that harsh click right before the 8 counts. Just nice soft transition. And now here, good power, a little bit of a head pushing forward on these front kicks.
Yeah, that was pretty clear on that view. So something that can be tended to. So nice and steady, calm stances for the most part.
Yeah, otherwise a really nice clean torso, not much head movement except on those front kicks. So just got to work on taming that in. Keep that chin nice and tucked.
차렷, 경례.
And a good score, 7.5. So Ella's going to finish with a 7.45. Up next, we have Valentina Glines from California. She trains at the KS Choi Taekwondo Center with her coach, Danny Choi and Megan Yee.
And I remember Valentina also, we have to come up with a new category, Coach Brand. She has a single sphere, but it is a decorated sphere.
Yeah, an adornment.
An adorned sphere.
Another category, maybe.
Nice and low transition. Got to stay low all the way across, but the 180 was nice.
Really sharp. That's Valentina Glines from California. Looking really good on her first Poomsae, getting a 7.2.
Well, I am anxious here looking at these scores. We're getting a bunch of 7s now. After Valentina does the second form, we'll be able to take a look at the standings because I think that score for the semis is creeping up to a 7.
That would be consistent with all of the other prelims that we've seen, right?
That's true.
Very thoughtful here.
She does a good job of looking up at the kick without moving her whole face. I don't do that. I keep forgetting to look up at my front kick. So I'm going to take this note. Good job from Valentina. I'm going to go practice some front kicks now. Although, of course, that was a note from the most recent World Championships. We never know what is going to change. So
Right.
Stay up on the rules because it could go back.
Right, because that was the first time we saw that, for sure, that we needed to do that, 7.23. And Valentina's final score, 7.215. And here are our standings so far with Ella Ward in first now, followed by Callista de Guzman, Eileen Jung, Haley Kobach, Prisha Shamali, Valentina Glines, Haley Han, Anna Chang, Hannah Lavino, Shruti Venkataraman, Zoe Dong, Emma Lee, and we're going all the way to 17, so the next screen too. So let's take a look at that cutoff now at 6.945, right?
Mm-hmm.
What we predicted it creeping up toward that 7, but we're not quite done yet. How many more athletes do we have to go?
Just 4. We're very close here.
4. All right.
So on top of that 6.94 that Gian has, there are 3 more scores with a 6. And then that 4th score is a 7. So if our last 4 athletes get above a 7, that cutoff is going to be in the 7s.
So our first of the last 4 athletes, Abigail Skrabak, the athlete that inspired the Fierce Spheres discussion, but looking here a little bit different. Not as far as the power goes, she's really turning that up. So just more of a accessory choice or style choice here.
Well, she did leave a note for you here, Coach Brand. She says she changed her hair up, which we immediately noticed. And
Very
she
nice.
says, should she bring back the Fierce Spheres?
Of course.
They
Of
are our
course.
favorite, Abigail. We love the Fierce Spheres.
Yeah, because we do have some tremoring tails here, right? Tremoring tails, but not as fierce from my point of view. 6.83. Yes, let's go back.
We need the power of the spheres.
Mm-hmm.
So Abigail is aging up now into this cadet division. She was in the youth division last year. So she is on the smaller side of the division. Again, 12 to 14. We've seen some taller athletes, but she is not low on power. That's
Right.
definitely I was going to say her strength is her strength, but one of the biggest positives for her form is her strength.
She go a little bit longer on these front stances. She could definitely go out a little bit more, but that front kick is humming. Look at that power going through. You know, we just have to know how much power and when to put that power in. We don't necessarily need it the entire motion, just at the key point of the motion. So that's something that we just need to sit down with the coach and discuss a little bit. But she got a good score the first time, 6.83.
We got to boost up here, Abigail. Let's go. Spheres.
There you go.
All right.
7.0 for the second. So she'll finish with a 6.915. Now just 3 athletes to go. The first is Alana Heinrichs. Alana is from Illinois, trains at Aki Martial Arts with her coach Ray Key. So I remember her strong performances in past virtual tournaments.
Yeah, that's right. At the Grand Slam last year, she finished in 5th place. But 2019 really looks like it was her year. She was the AAU National Poomsae team member, the ATU National team for 2019, Canada Open gold medalist in 2019. So she did compete in the US Open in 2020, got a bronze. So hopefully now continuing some of that results that she had in 2019 into 2021.
Well, look at that. All that hard work pays off. She gets a 7.4 for the first Poomsae.
시작.
Those punches maybe just a little bit low. Well, I don't know what we're going to call this hairstyle. She has her little ponytail up at the top is braided, and then the braids are put into the loop, and then the ponytail hangs down. So it's very complicated hairstyle.
Very elaborate.
Yeah. like a samurai top knot.
But in the back and looking cooler. That's Alana Heinrich. She got a 7.4 for the first Poomsae. Really turned up the heat on the second one there.
시작. 차렷. 경례.
So she gets a 7.3. So here comes her combined score, 7.35. So now we have just two athletes left. The first one is Michaela Zhang from California. She trains with Eagles Taekwondo under her coach Jung Hwang Jin.
시작.
Michaela recently competed on the 2020 online WT Open Championships. Of course, the cadet and junior divisions were open. It was not a World Championships division, but she won a gold in the cadet division, and that was open to the whole world. I think that might have been the division that the US took multiple places. We were just really strong in the female cadet division.
Right.
바로.
Looking really good there. Other than the lower back arch, she gets a huge 7.57. Other than the lower back arch, looks kind of like in that space anyway, a young Karen Rial.
시작.
Little arms out to the side on those front kicks. Just needs to keep those closer to her body. Good here, nice and patient, allowing yourself plenty of time. And then contrasting with that big speed.
And a good job trying to keep that base leg locked. We've seen some big bends on the front kicks as people try and boost up, but she's doing a good job trying to keep it nice and locked, staying nice and tall on the front kicks and then low in the stances.
Yeah, she gets a ton of extension. Her patience, it really pays off, allowing her to extend fully on all of those hand techniques. That's Michaela Zhang from California. She got a 7.57.
Ooh.
And followed now the highest score so far, 7.640. To finish with a 7.605. Nice gap for her in first place, but now Juliana Candelaria, she trains with Apex Tiger Martial Arts. She's from Illinois.
Another very strong athlete with lots of recent accomplishments, has been on the national team, won a gold medal at the 2020 US Open, gold medal at the National Center of Excellence Grand Slam in January 2020. And here, going left. Yeah.
바로.
Oh, off to a good start, 7.5 for first Poomsae. So Michaela just before her got a 7.57.
시작.
Nice hip rotation here, losing a little bit of the bend in the front knee, but not bad.
Nice push. Boy, that thigh right next to her midsection, or right alongside her whole torso. I don't know if it's just me, but it looks like there's a little head movement to finish every one of those techniques. So that's something to
Cadet.
think about. I have to look at that recording again to see one more time if that head is nice and steady or if it tends to finish with a little bit of a snap. But boy, 7.66, maybe that's just part of that power coming through every part of her body. She finishes with a 7.580, so just under Michaela. So Michaela finishes in first place for this preliminary round, right? So we're just looking for the group to move forward. And the group to move forward is going to be 17 athletes. So Michaela Zhang, Juliana Candelaria, Ella Ward, Callista de Guzman, Eileen Zhang, Alana Hyrix, Billy Kolbach. And then here we are already in the next screen. So the cutoff did have right there around 6.970 with Yuning Liu catching that last spot. But what a lot of great performances we had in this preliminary round of the female cadet division.
That's right. Make sure you come back tomorrow. We're going to finish out the last of the prelims. So we'll get to have the junior males and females, and then we'll be hitting the semifinals.